So back to your selection for London.
Yeah.
So was your final trials result your sort of key to get into the boat, or did you have to seat race as well?
So I had to do both. I think it was pretty key for me at final trials. So I won final trials and then did seat racing afterwards. And me and Sophie won that as well. But I think, especially in the smaller boats, and at least how it used to be with the lightweights, you have to get a good result in your single to be considered for the crew boat stuff.
Yeah. And how did you kind of approach that seat racing, and what do you believe the reasons were that you won those?
The seat races, because at that point I didn't really know what was going on. I think I didn't know what was going on, so I didn't really understand like who was being raced or how they were doing it. So that was quite good, because then all I thought was, okay, this is the race I'm in now, this is the person I'm with now, let's just make this as good as it can be. And I just stayed really in the race I was in the moment, rather than trying to second guess and knowing how they would step through the races.
And in terms of like gelling your crew together, was there anything that you did to try and get the most out of yourselves when you were racing in those kind of situations?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that I always used to do all the way through seat racing and matrix is, one, in a short space of time when you are not going to get everything perfect, going back to the force curve, for me the key was like having a few strokes to start off with in the first paddle together, where I would almost go a little bit lighter to feel where the other person's acceleration point was and try and sync that up, because if that was the only thing that synced up, that was okay. Like I'd rather that than it looked neat around the back. So I'd feel into that under the water. And then the second thing would be I'd try and get a sense of the person, because you always get a paddle or two before. It's not just a scratch boat, you go out straight to race, and what they liked and needed in a race. So like I rode with some athletes who would love it to be really positive and be bigged up, and I would literally then just spend the whole race pretty much be like, this is awesome, this is so good, let's go, like loads of positivity. Some people liked quiet, some people liked quite technical objective calls, so I'd try and do that to, as I said before, as much as I was getting the most out of myself, get more out of them than anyone else racing with them would.
Okay, so I think that look at our last point from Kat is really worth expanding upon, because it can be so easy to get wrapped up in just what you're doing when you're seat racing, and it's just an individual test of you, when it's really not. It's a test of how well you can kind of gel with your crew when it comes to being seat raced. And especially in the first run, when you don't know who's going to be swapped at all, and it's just about laying down a good marker. Just thinking of one or two things your crew can do in that warm up to really kind of bring you together. And I think a really good place to start on that is where you're pushing within the stroke. Are you looking to have a quick connection and a really strong push through with the hips at the finish of the stroke? Or just looking at really just hammering on that front end, and having a really consistent drive for the stroke, but just having just a couple of focuses each time, so that when people are swapped and things, you can then actually build on those things. So you're always looking at and improving at each run that you can do, and then when you are swapped, you can then choose a couple of things again, or talk to the crew like, okay, what things went well, what things could you improve on? And then trying to improve on those things, so you're getting that whole crew to have a better performance each time, and not just you, because the people that make boats go really well in seat racing are those who can get everything out of everybody, and it's not just in terms of how you're rowing, but how you kind of set yourself up to row within that race as well. Jack Beaumont had some really good thoughts on seat racing when I interviewed him a while ago, and those were the exact kind of things he was really focusing on as well. So yeah, give those a go, and good luck with your own seat racing.